You found that very humorous, I
I
see.
found that very humorous.
Okay, very good. Because you thought I would be ending on one, but I ended on one.
Exactly. Threw me off.
Okay, threw you right off. Hi, Anne. We're back for another installment of the shockingly popular Ask Eddie and Anne. Um, I guess. I mean, you're never supposed to say that when it's yourself doing it. But um, I before we get started, I just have to tell you, it kind of cracked me up. I got a letter this week from a diehard Noir City fan, Jessica Caan, who has been to many, many festivals. And as you may know, she just moved to Savannah, Georgia. And she was briefly living in Arizona, but she wrote me a note about everything that was going on. And she said that prior to driving to Savannah, she downloaded 35 hours of Ask Eddie and Anne to listen to on the trip. And
Wow.
I would hope there was plenty left over by the time she got there. Otherwise, she was like driving 15 miles an hour the whole way. Um, but the thing that startled me, other than that somebody would just listen to like hours and hours of us talking straight through, was that there was 35 downloadable hours of this.
Oh, yeah. I was really shocked because I was looking at our playlist on YouTube. No, and I was saying because I was looking for something and I realized how long we've been doing this. It's been like 2 years.
Because we sort of started doing this at the beginning of COVID
Correct.
to kind of like keep people's interest up, we hope, where there were no festivals and everything. And now, of course, as I'm sure you'll be doing in the course of this episode, informing people that there are indeed festivals on the way. Chicago,
Yeah.
Detroit, Washington, D.C. All of those are programmed. Kind
Yeah.
of still working on DC, trying to finalize a lot of things. But yes, the other ones are all set to go.
Yeah. In Chicago, the passes are currently on sale and the whole schedule is up there. So, and that is at the Music Box Theater's website.
Yes. And we were holding out we had one last film that we had to nail down, and I give great thanks to my colleague and good friend Andrea Callis at the Paramount Archives, who did us a real solid by pulling a 35 millimeter print of Flesh and Bone with
Nice.
James Caan, Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan. Because we're going to show that on opening night with Thief as our tribute to James Caan. I know it's not classic noir, but both of those are certainly top shelf neo noir entries. And I think that Flesh and Bone is a film that not enough people have seen, and it definitely deserves to be on this bill because it's one of James Caan's. It's a supporting role, but he's incredibly scary in it. So Andrea did us a solid by getting that out of the archive that was no longer in circulation, so we're able to show it. So, ta-da!
That's great. And Thief is an incredible film. It's my favorite Michael Mann film by far.
I wonder how Michael Mann would feel about that. I always wonder whenever I tell a filmmaker that this was my favorite film of yours and it was the first film.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't his first movie, but that was like his breakthrough movie, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and I've been working for 30 years since then, and I haven't made another one that you really like.
No, I mean, it's not that the other films, I don't know, that one is really, I mean, James Caan's performance is amazing in it. I mean, when he does the monologue about what happened to him when he first got into prison, it was incredible.
Well, it's his favorite. It's James Caan's favorite movie. He always cites Sonny Corleone and The Godfather because obviously, he had been acting for a long time before The Godfather, but that Sonny Corleone really made his career. But other than that, Thief is his favorite of the movies that he's made. So I'm happy to be showing those two movies. And then, real quick, before we get to the questions, it'll be great fun because I think on an earlier episode I misspoke and I said that there would be an 8-film B movie marathon. Saner people contacted me and said, "Eddie, come on, it's 6. It's 6. Only 6." But it'll be great fun. That's Saturday, the 27th of August. It'll be great fun because I think we're going to make up little single day passports, and you can get them punched if you leaving every film.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, if you have seen all 6 films, you're gonna get a special prize.
That's awesome.
So I have, and of course, I have absolutely no idea how many of these special prizes we'll have to have. Will we get away with 6, or will we have to have 200? I don't know how many people are going to manage to imbibe all 6 of those movies. Granted, they are B films, so there's none of them that are over 75 minutes. But just consider it like binging. Like if you were at home binging on something, you're binging on noir for one day with cocktails too. So, because there is the music box now has a bar attached to the theater, so that's good.
Very nice.
Anyway, okay, should we rock here?
Yeah, let's go. This first question is 2 questions because they were similar from 2 different people. What's next in the Film Noir Foundation restoration pipeline from Flicker Alley? And that's from our friend Michael in Post Falls. And from Larry, since you collaborate with Flicker Alley on bringing us Film Noir fans the brilliant Argentine noirs, is there any plans to explore and restore some of Mexico's great noirs? I would love to add some of these to my Blu-ray collection if they were given a restoration treatment. There are many.
Okay. The next thing in the pipeline from Flicker Alley is El Vampiro Negro, which will be coming out November 1st, is as they like to call it, the street date for El Vampiro Negro, which we are very, very excited about. That has a very long and tumultuous story of its resurrection, and we're very excited about that. It will have all of the great special features that we've kind of become known for. Very excited about that. There'll be a documentary film that we're making comparing the 3 versions of M, Fritz Lang's, Joseph Losey's, and this one by Roman Vignoli Barreto. Imogen's involved again, and Fernando Pena is even my valued colleague in Buenos Aires. He is actually doing the audio commentary.
Wow.
And I told him you have to do it in English, so it'll be a challenge, but he said, I will do it. I will do it. So that's kind of exciting. So that's the next one in the pipeline. We have a couple other things in the offing that I'm not at liberty to say at the moment. Needless to say, the Argyle Secrets, which we restored, will be forthcoming, but because it is such a short film, we want to put it with something else, like we did with The Guilty and High Tide. And we're trying to figure out, A, what that is, and B, negotiate for it if it's not something that we ourselves restored. As for the Mexican noirs, nothing would make me happier than to be able to do for those films what we did for the Argentine films. However, they're not as in dire need of rescuing as the Argentine films, except, the rights are all in Mexico. Most every film, theatrical film, all the rights are controlled by the same Telecina, the same outfit. They have the rights to everything. And most of those films are in the National Cinematheque in Mexico. So even though you're only dealing with 2 entities for this stuff, It's not easy. It is not easy. So I'm hoping that things will break this year, and that we'll be able to release some of those films. To they have played outside of Mexico theatrically, but it is very difficult to reproduce them without some sort of elaborate deal involving the Cinematheque and Telecine. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it is a gold mine. The Mexican noir is a gold mine. I mean, I think I mentioned this before, but just to give you an idea of how difficult it is, there was actually a whole day of Mexican films scheduled on TCM and announced, and it never happened because the whole thing kind of fell through, and they never got the digital transfers of the films, so it had to be canceled. So that's just a little indication of how difficult some of this is to pull off. I guarantee you they will be worth the wait. Okay. DJS, whoever that may be, is loving the Film Noir Foundation insights and perks, but I have no idea how or when to renew membership, which I presume runs for 1 year. Just starting over again from Go seems wasteful for a perpetual member, and thus far I've not received an email notice or a reminder. Perhaps a quick tutorial during an Ask Eddie segment would be useful for a lot of people. Or is it open-ended? Clarification on this protocol would be great. Well, Anne, I know you don't have the answer to this. Should I just come clean and admit it for the however many people are watching this?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we started the Film Noir Foundation, and we wanted what are called donors / patrons, because it's not a membership kind of thing. I decided we had to have a premium or something, which is how the newsletter came about, and then that morphed into the magazine. And amazingly, it has remained $20 from the beginning, even though that damn magazine has gone from 4 pages to 100 glossy pages and is now arguably one of the best film magazines in the world. But when we started out, it was important for us to build a donor list for various reasons. Just whenever we partner with somebody and they say, well, how many people are there in the Film Noir Foundation? We use that list of people who have not signed up. Signing up doesn't get you anything.
Except the newsletter that I write every month.
Yes. It does not. It does. Correct. It does not, however, get you the magazine or any of that other stuff. So, in order to build that list, we never said you had to keep resubscribing or redonating in order to continue getting the magazine. And then it just became like a thing. Like, we don't actually drop you from the list. I consider it just a perpetual thing. Like I love people that just donate every year, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
No questions asked. They just donate every year. Like my buddy Jello Biafra.
Yeah.
Jello is good for a donation every year, because he's a good man who believes in giving his profits to charitable charitable organizations. So the answer is, it's real simple. If you don't have any money and you can't afford it, don't worry. We're not going to drop you from the list. But if you do, please just donate every year. And, a minimum of $20 will keep everything rolling. So, I don't want to get to that point where I say, okay, it's time to, fish or cut bait. Like all these people who haven't renewed their subscription, you're done. Get out of here. I don't really want to do that. So there, I just spilled the beans, you know. So who knows? Maybe that will totally kill our donations, or maybe some good people will just re-up instantly. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, plus, if you redonate and you're donating more than $20, we have different levels of donations, and you do get different things based
Of course,
on that.
you do get your premiums if you donate, you know, $500 or something. You get a passport to the festival out here, and you know it. And you also get to be part of it. You know, you get to know. And this is not, you know, I'm not just making this stuff up, because you know, you get to feel like you were part of resurrecting El Vampiro Negro and The Argyle Secrets and Woman on the Run and Too Late for Tears, because it's true. I mean, that's where our dough comes from, right? Either it's coming from people who donate directly to the foundation, or it's coming through the exhibition of the films, right? Either through partnerships with the venues that hold the festivals, or directly from the ticket sales at Noir City out here. I mean, that's where the bulk of the money comes from. There are the great grants that come once in a while from the Hollywood Foreign Press, or major charitable donations from those fortunate individuals who can do that. But it really is a grassroots thing. It's a lot of $20 donations that add up.
We're very appreciative of that. And it's fun too, because when you get to see the restoration in the theater, you know, you're part of it. I mean, that's thrilling for me because I work for us, and there is something amazing when I watch one of these, like, wow, I contributed to that. That's a thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe someday we'll be able to do my, you know, the show I really want to do is, you know, I want to be the Anthony Bourdain of movies. You know, I want to travel around the world and find lost films and do documentaries about it that explore the film culture of all these different countries around the world, and then find a lost film and restore it. And then, unlike these travel shows where it's people eating their way around the world and you get to sit there and just kind of stare at these other people and live vicariously through them, imagine a show where you actually go out and find a movie, talk about the film culture, restore the movie, and then you screen it, and everybody can see the end result of that film hunt. You know, wouldn't that be awesome?
It'd be great. That is an incredible idea.
Yeah, I've toted that one around for quite a while. And now, of course, that I'm so associated with TCM, it's kind of like, okay, can we? But we'll see. It wouldn't be so easy for me to go someplace else and do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, we'll see.
Okay. And this is from, wait a minute. Yes, from Susan. I love this.
I know what movie she's talking about.
Okay, good, because any number can win. I love this movie with Alain Delon and Jean Gabin. Do you have any idea if Alain Delon did any of the stunts himself, such as crawling through the casino's ventilation system, walking on the roof of the casino, and so on?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would assume that Delon did all that stuff himself, because Belmondo did it all himself, and there's no way, if Belmondo did it, that Delon was not doing it as well. those guys had a really cool competition. Like who was the coolest French actor of the 1960s, right? So I am positive that Delon did his own stunts in that movie. And I agree, Susan, that is a fantastic film.
Great film. We showed it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Again, that was one that I feel like, even though, you know, we had nothing to do with the restoration or anything of that film, I refer to these things as revivals, Like we were definitely part of the revival of that because we showed it at a number of Noir City festivals around the country, and it really took off after that. Like I hadn't seen that movie. Like I don't think it had played on TCM or any of that stuff before like 2015 or something. I mean, obviously people knew about it, but I like to think that we had a hand in reviving that one. Okay. Brent has a question. A lot has been said about noirs that had their endings changed for the worse by making them more positive or hopeful, either during the adaptation or in a later script revision. Some examples are the softened endings of Tomorrow is Another Day and Nightmare Alley. But can you think of noirs that had their endings softened for the better instead of for the worse? And Brent suggests that the last minute change to In a Lonely Place is the only example that he can think of. That's a really good one. In some instances, I am not certain that the happy ending was a change or if it was just conceived that way to start with. Like I just wrote a script for a film I'm going to be introducing in September on Noir Alley, The Hidden Room. You know The Hidden Room, right? With the Dimitrick film made in England with Robert.
Love
Newton.
that movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Yes, and so the ending of that film is like the most not noir ending imaginable, but it's kind of perfect.
It's an awesome ending. It's an awesome ending. I love that movie. Seriously, yes. I'm so happy you're going to show it. I really want people to see it. It's such a great film.
Yeah, I'm very excited about showing it, and it's such an interesting story, the backstory behind it, and it's funny for a movie with. I say in my outro, this movie really did kind of need this goofy, silly, upbeat ending because the movie is so perverse. It is so grotesque. You kind of can't believe what's happening. Like that movie could never have been made in Hollywood. Never.
Seriously, that is. And I watch a lot of horror films, and that is one of the most like fucked up things I've ever seen someone do to another human being. I loved it.
And I love it. I love it when the slip shows, Anne, and you reveal, it's so gross and perverted. I love it. But there's something about it being British, where they're also dignified.
Exactly. Well, that's what makes it, because.
And it's like, this is the sickest thing.
He brings some tea. This guy is victimizing. He brings some tea.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil it. Of course, we're not going to spoil it for people who haven't seen the movie. But, and also, there's a dog in the film that is one of the great dogs of all time.
He's up there with Fatty Arbuckle's Luke.
Luke and Asta and Pard in High Sierra. Bogart's dog Pard. Anyway, Monty. The dog's name is Monty, and I love it because it's
British name.
And it's also, you see in the credits it says Monty as Monty. Playing himself. He is a famous guy. I feel though that I don't want to let Brent down and just come up with that one. There's got to be another one.
Well, there's one for me which I have been schooled about, but I don't care. I still feel it. On Dangerous Ground.
Yeah, that he goes back.
The ending was changed. That he goes back. Yeah. Well, you saw me the last time we played at the last festival, and you're like, your eyes are all red. And it's like, I've been crying since they met. I'm crying all the way through the rest of the film. And I have seen this movie before, but their relationship to me is so moving. because I mean, it's not,
Absolutely.
they really connect, and they're very similar people, and they see each other. It's just
Well,
incredible.
it's a funny thing, and this is a little bit of a detour from Brent's question, but I will admit that as I get older, I am far more tolerant of these tacked on happy endings than I was when I was
Yeah,
younger,
yeah,
because um, because when you're young, you don't know how bad it gets. You don't know how bad
yeah,
the world actually is. So you kind of want to tell people, "Come on, wake up."
yeah,
And you kind of wallow in the bad endings.
yeah,
And when I was younger, I mean, I only liked a movie if it had a total freak out downer ending.
yeah.
Like, oh my god, this is great. Like, give me Taxi Driver, every day of the week. I want to. As I get older, it's like, I hope this ends well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think it's just a natural order of things. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate the great, brutal endings. Obviously, I do. Uh, but I've just noticed that I don't grimace and say, "Oh, they wrecked it." It's just like, okay, we know what that was about. That they let the audience off the hook.
yeah.
And,
And I
and
think, go ahead. And I was just going back to Nightmare Alley. I mean, that was scripted with that ending. There was no way they scripted that originally using the book's ending.
No, I mean,
I mean,
I have a
they were
copy
going
of
to
the
do it.
screenplay right
Yeah,
here, and it was clearly written in. And I remember being confused because I thought that it was one of those things where, oh my God, we can't do that. We have to go back and change it. And I remember talking to Colleen Gray about it and saying, "So did they change the ending?" And she said, "No, no, that was always the ending." And I realized, well, of course, that was always the ending. That's the way it was written. That's the way Jules Firthman wrote the script. I mean, Zanuck told him before he even typed, fade in, it was like, and he doesn't die at the end and he doesn't become a geek, right? I mean, he becomes the geek, but she shows up and there has to be the ray of hope.
yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I just, and I think if you're being paid in Hollywood to write, you just would have assumed that without having to be told.
yeah. The other one that I don't particularly like the way it's executed, but I do like the ending is Thieves Highway. Um, because the book is it's really interesting because at that time, American literature was very uh, daring. People were trying all kinds of new things. And when Buzz wrote Thieves Highway, it ends very ambiguously. Nick is just taking off after Figlia and going to get his revenge, but that's it. In 1940 whatever, Buzz wrote an ending that was just like a movie from the early 70s.
Yeah,
Right? It just ends. There's no conclusion to it. The movie just ends. It's like Two-Lane Blacktop or something.
yeah,
It's over all of a sudden. And I thought that was daring for a book, but there's no way a movie is going to end like that. So they give the audience the satisfaction of seeing him get his revenge on Lee J. Cobb, but then he returns to Rika,
yeah.
right? And which I don't mind at all, except I don't really like the way they shot it with them in the truck driving, and it was so hokey. But the fact that he returns to her at the end and kicks his waspy girlfriend Polly to the curb, I endorse that. I
Well, I
thought that
mean,
was
who
great.
wouldn't have picked her? I mean, she was Valentina. What's her name?
Valentina Corteza,
Thank you. Yeah, she was something
fantastic.
else. Yeah, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So those are a few. Those are a few. I'm sure. I'm sure that people will weigh in with
yeah, put them in the
their own
comments.
favorites on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to say something too, because they had to change the end of the novel Double Indemnity because the end scene is like insane. But
it is insane.
There's part I really would have loved to see Barbara Stanwyck do it though.
Well, it's very interesting because I think Stanwyck has made more than one. Obviously, there's the Lady Eve, and there's Flesh and Fantasy, where she's on these big liners, crossing the ocean. And every time I see those, I think of the end of Double Indemnity, like I'm waiting for Fred McMurray to walk out and go, there's a shark following this boat, baby. It is very weird. I told you, right, that I saw a stage adaptation of Double Indemnity where they kept the original ending?
Oh, no, you did not.
Yes, a few years ago, some enterprising people decided to mount a stage production that was true to the book, which probably wasn't a particularly good idea.
Yeah.
Because the screenplay is actually better than the book.
Yeah.
But they kept the original ending. And there was some beautiful staging. The way they staged it to suddenly have them on the deck of a steamship. And she was in this fabulous blood red cape with the cowl and everything, and she was like the angel of death, and it was great. The actress was pretty good. I'm embarrassed I can't remember her name, but anyway, it doesn't work. The end would never have worked. Anyway, okay. Who's reading the next one? I can't remember. I think you are.
Oh, right, Jerry. We're on 5. Okay. Can we please revisit the topic of 3D noir? For I, the Jury, Classic Flicks has announced they will distribute the recent 3D restoration on 3D Blu-ray. Inferno and Man in the Dark do exist on home video 3D, but I don't think the Glass Web does. Last year, the 3D Film Archive said the problem is that there are very expensive music rights for the song Temptation in the film. My 2 questions are, am I missing any other 3D noirs I need to find? And 2, is there anything the Film Noir Foundation can do to help bring the Glass Web to 3D home video? And that's from Robbie in Denver.
Okay. I'm drawing a blank. Is there more 3D? Yeah, I know I've shown Inferno and Man in the Dark as a double bill several times, and now I, the Jury, and the Glass Wall. I thought every studio had at least one. We won't be involved in anything having to do with the Glass Web because that's a Universal picture, and they will do what they want with it. They own it, and if they wanted to license it to somebody to put out as a 3D product, they can do that. I don't think there are other 3D noir films. I think that's all of them, unless I'm an idiot and I'm drawing a blank. But of those, I would say, what's your favorite, Anne, of the 3D noirs?
I haven't seen I, the Jury yet, but Inferno was great, but I think overall, I would say Man in the Dark, because I like the relationship, I guess, in that. It gives it a lot of depth. Inferno is great because it's just such a good revenge story, but
I love Inferno. I think Inferno is great. It's it could just because of Robert Ryan. Because Robert Ryan just gives such a, like I've always said, he gives 2 great performances in the film. The performance in front of the cameras, and then the performance that he gives in the studio doing the voiceover, is just fantastic.
And that's a really good voiceover.
And one that is often discounted when people talk about great voiceovers in film noir, because it's an actual present tense voiceover. It's not if I knew then what I know now voiceover. like Mitchum and Out of the Past and William Holden and Sunset Boulevard.
You know,
And,
that's really interesting because that's why I love the Dexter novels so much, is because they're in first person, this current first person.
Yeah. I mean, he's just telling you what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And you're privy to his thoughts. And so there's an incredible immediacy to Ryan's vocal performance in that film that just makes it, absolutely makes it. Doesn't hurt to see Rhonda Fleming in 3D either, just as a little side note. But that's it. Our fans will tell us how dumb we are for forgetting one that we obviously should have remembered. But
yeah.
I'm hoping this is like fresh news, breaking news. I'm hoping that we can get the jury to do another Noir City Christmas, because it's set at Christmas. The jury is actually a Christmas film.
Yeah.
So that would be great. A 3D Christmas film.
That'd be fantastic.
Cinematography by John Alton. Oh, yeah. Come on. Can't beat that.
We've done some, we did some great films for Noir City Christmas. I've enjoyed them all. It's been fun.
There are a few that have escaped us that I haven't shown, like The Silent Partner.
Yeah.
Which I would guess.
That is based on a Danish novel.
It is, in fact, yes. It was not even set in, well, it's not set in America anyway, right? It's in Canada. The film is in Canada, yeah.
But the original film is, there is a Danish film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It came out before Silent Partner. Because the book was really big in Denmark, yeah. And Ted and I watched it. I hunted down a copy. We both liked it better than Silent Partner, actually.
Really?
Oh.
Well, that's because you're prejudiced. You like
Ted did too, though.
Well, I'm going to have to find it now and decide from. I so love Christopher Plummer in The Silent Partner, and Elliot Gould is really good. And that screenplay was by Curtis Hanson. That was one of his. That was one of his first. His first successes, really. Okay. Other than...
You could do a double feature of both.
I could, although...
That's me just punching because I'd love for us to show a Danish film.
Of course. But, it's funny. These days, it's like it starts to get a little thin. And so I'm thinking, like, should I do a double bill or should I just do one movie and something else that's kind of fun for Christmas, since I'm still not sure how, are people going to sit in one night for a double bill? I think doing one film is good just because one, it'll give us, we can space them out so we don't have to repeat. Well, there's that. There's that. Too. Plus
we do it on a Wednesday night as well.
Yeah, typically it's on a Wednesday night, although that's not necessarily that's not a requirement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always been my strategy, was do it the Wednesday before Christmas, because it always felt like that was good timing, because it's like you're not frantically running around doing last minute Christmas shopping and nonsense like that, but it's still close enough to the holiday to be part of it. So anyway, okay, Jeff from Brooklyn. Jeff from Brooklyn says, when I purchase a DVD, I look for a movie with an audio commentary by the director. I'm interested in the director's point of view on his or her film, such as the style of the genre and so on. Which film noir DVD has the best or most thought-provoking audio commentary? Well, obviously you're not getting any classic film noir DVDs with director commentaries because they're all dead.
I was thinking. Good point.
So like new ones, that's a huge advantage. Although, sometimes directors are the worst talking about their own films. Like they're not going to really talk about anything except the problems they had making the film, which if you find that interesting, great. But I don't know. I'm going to confess, this is the second big revelation of this episode. I don't really listen to audio commentaries. right? I just don't. I have never listened to one of my audio commentaries. It's like, why would I do that? I did it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to it. And except in rare occasions, I don't have the time to listen to them, because I will never listen to an audio commentary without watching the film first.
Right.
And then once I watch the film, it's like, do I really have time to watch this again with the commentary? I don't. So I don't really have a good answer for Jeff on this one because I just don't listen to them, and I understand what he's saying because only the director can give you true insight into their thought process or relate great anecdotes from the making of the film. Right. I mean, I try to do that because I put a lot of research into my commentaries. And if something, interesting happened in the making of the film, I want to talk about that. I don't like to do much theorizing about the films in terms of why they're doing something a certain way or what it's supposed to mean or that kind of stuff. I kind of leave that up to the viewers themselves. And unless there's something spectacular about the way something is shot and you want to talk about the trouble it took to do it and like how, if you're watching The Third Man, you want to know like what's the deal with the sewers at the end? Are they the real sewers? Are they not? Are they a set? All that kind of stuff. And fortunately, you can find all that info and relate it. But anyway, it's weird. I wonder what it would have been like if they had these things back in the day and you could have had Robert Siodmak do a commentary on, The Killers or something like that. Yeah. Wouldn't that have been wild?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly people that would have been really interested. I mean, Orson Welles would always be great because he was such a raconteur. He would be fun. Even though I'd almost rather have him talk about the radio shows he did because I love.
Although I get the feeling that Orson Welles probably would have just talked about how everything got screwed up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, A would be what it took to get the money to make this film, and B would be what went wrong and why didn't I finish it? That would be the two unending topics of conversation with Orson Welles. I mean, I'm being flip. Obviously, he'd have a lot of tremendous stuff to say, but I know he'd talk about all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Number seven.
Oh, it's me. I have only been able to see a French remake of the original Samantha Agar production of The Lady in the Car with the Glasses and a Gun. Do you think we'll ever see this on DVD or on Netflix, etc.? Thank you, Joseph.
I have no idea. Sorry, Joseph. I hate to disappoint you. And I don't know this film that well. I mean, given that it has one of the great titles of all time, you'd think I'd seen this film a bunch of times. I know that I have seen it decades ago, and I couldn't tell you anything about it now. I'm sorry to say. So I would like it to be released on Netflix or DVD or something, but I have no inside info in that regard. In fact, I might as well tell people up front who are watching this that I really don't. I mean, I know the folks at Criterion. I know the folks at Kino. I obviously know the folks at Flicker Alley. But beyond that, I don't really know what's going on the DVD side of things. So you guys know more than I do. So asking me if something's coming out on DVD or Blu-ray, it's one thing if you're asking about projects that we're involved in. Other than that, I don't really know, or I don't know any sooner than anybody else knows. Just admitting that. Okay, Bob in Pasadena says, years ago, I saw a film noir I found very interesting. Not an A film, but it had a very creative premise. I'm pretty sure it was the 1950s. The action takes place in a small local bar where everyone is watching a crime incident right outside the bar on a large TV. I can't recall many of the details about the film, but the big TV captured my attention and seemed a prescient view of what was to come. Don't get me started. I'd love to watch it again, but I don't recall the name, any of the stars, not a lead that can help me find it. I may even have central action wrong, says Bob and pass it. Well, Bob, if the movie you are thinking of is Dial 1119, then you got the central action right, because that is what that film is. Yes, Marshall Thompson is a psycho who holds a bar full of patrons hostage, and William Conrad is the bartender. And there are, what I love is, like, there are old Philco television sets up in the corner of the bar throughout the movie, and they realize, like, the hostage situation, I think, gets broadcast on the TVs in the bar while the people are in the bar.
Oh, wow.
And Andrea King is in it, and Leon Ames is in it. Virginia Field is in it. And William Conrad. And I think it actually did come out on DVD, at least. I don't know if it's been on Blu-ray, but I think it was an MGM film from 1950, which means it's probably now controlled by Warner Brothers. And anyway, that's the movie that you're thinking of, Bob. And here I will chime in and say, Anne, that all of those people in the last episode, I'm assuming there are some of these, who, when we talked about the movie with the fire,
Yes.
and the woman rescues the kid from the fire, the people who wrote in, and I didn't really look, so you tell me if they did this, who said that the movie was Smash Up, the story of a woman.
Yeah.
They win the prize, because
we got that comment a couple times too on the Facebook page when we were airing it.
Yes, and I had an email sent to me directly, and then of course the movie is on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was able to send the link to this person that had made this dire inquiry, like, I'm going to go insane if I don't find out what this movie is, and was able to send him the link as well, and wrote back confirming that was indeed the movie that he remembered as a child. He goes, "It's exactly what I remember." Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So let's see here. Oh, I lost my place.
Number 9.
Number 9. Here we go. Is the 1971 Spielberg film Duel a film noir entry? I say yes, especially after the airing of Bad Day at Black Rock. Duel's what done it in the classic sense, given that the antagonist is an inanimate object, the big rig. Nor in Bright Daylight. How novel. We never see the human behind the wheel of the rig, and Spielberg almost predated Tesla by introducing a self-driving vehicle on the U.S. highway. Eddie, please reintroduce this first Spielberg product and give us the backstory and lowdown on this movie. Tony.
Well, number 1, I don't really think of it as a film noir. I mean, it's kind of a horror movie. Don't you think?
I would consider it a horror movie. Because like The Hitcher is a horror movie.
The Hitcher and what's the Stephen King car movie?
Christine. Directed by John Carpenter.
So I'm trying to see where the Bad Day at Black Rock connection is, just because of the locale, because it's the open spaces and everything. But I really think generally in noir, there needs to be some kind of compelling motivation that drives people, and the fact that it is never answered, like why this guy snaps and tries to run Dennis Weaver off the road. I don't know. I like the movie. The only tidbit I can tell you about this film, which I will date myself by saying I saw it in its original broadcast on TV because it was a TV movie.
Yeah, it's a TV movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, and it was funny because, you know, there's this meme going around where people are saying, what's the first whatever movie you saw in a theater by this director?
Yeah.
And I don't do those things anyway, but I looked at it and I said, and then I looked at some of the people who were answering.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I don't want to answer because I'm twice as old as anybody else playing this game.
Yeah.
Right? When they say my first Scorsese in a theater was The Departed,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Ouch.
Holy cow. Because every one of those directors they mentioned, I saw their first film in a movie theater. But with Spielberg, you saw it on TV if you saw Duel, because Sugarland Express was his first movie in a movie theater, which I also saw, the week it came out in a movie theater with Bill Atherton and, it was Goldie Hawn, right? And Goldie Hawn and Sugarland Express.
Actually, you know something? The first thing I actually saw by Spielberg was actually his night gallery.
Yeah, with Joan Crawford.
Joan Crawford, because they had that on reruns when I was a kid. So I saw that before I saw any other Spielberg film.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think I did too, but it was a night gallery.
I think it was night gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's well, we make these distinctions between like an episode of an anthology show versus a TV movie versus a feature film. But I do know that the thing about Duel that it was famous for a long time, and as far as I know, it may still be, had more individual shots than any other television program ever made.
Yeah.
It had more individual camera setups than any other movie ever made for television. Because, man, that thing is directed to he's just pulling out all the stops directing that thing. He is like, that is the biggest show-off piece of direction.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, he's basically saying, I can take open road and two vehicles and look what I can do with this.
Yeah.
And it was spectacular. You know, another great voiceover. Dennis Weaver's voiceover in that film is another real-time voiceover where you hear him thinking through the whole thing. What is it with this guy, man? What is he trying to get? Oh, this guy's crazy, you know. And I remember this is really ridiculous, but I remember stuff like this. Very early in the film, as he's just heading out on the road, he's listening to talk radio. And there's a guy on the radio who calls in and says, hey, man, I have a special talent. And the disc jockey goes, what's that? And he goes, I play meat. And Dennis Weaver goes, oh, man, this guy plays meat. And I've never forgotten that. Just for some reason, that line always cracked me up. I play meat. So in the course of my life, I have actually used that line when people say, and what do you do? And I say, I play meat. There you go. Okay, that's all I got. That's all I got on Duel. Sorry.
That was worth it, Eddie.
I got to go back and look and see who shot that, who the cameraman was on that. Because
yeah.
It's really, really well done. Okay. Eddie.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Paula and Carolyn want to know if we consider, it says Eddie, would you consider, but I'm sharing this with you, Ann. Okay. Would you consider the Bette Davis movie, The Letter, to be film noir? Avid fans of your program on Turner Classics, Paula and Carolyn. Okay. Ann, your vote?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a great film noir. And I mean, she is one of the greatest femme fatales of all time. That is a great performance. And well, two great femme fatales, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Carrie Snodgrass? Is it Carrie?
No, Gail Sondergaard.
God, sorry.
Gail Sondergaard. And yes, who for some reason, in the very inappropriate now,
Yeah.
that she's playing an Asian, a Eurasian
Yeah.
in that film.
Yeah.
But she's great. She's fantastic in it. And the scene between her and Bette Davis is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautifully directed movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the opening where the camera's like prowling around the grounds of the plantation, and then she comes out on the steps and blows the guy away. It's like one of the great openings in movies. And as you know, it was redone later as The Unfaithful.
Yes.
With Ann
Which is
Sheridan,
a personal favorite film of mine.
Which is coming up on Noir Alley.
Oh, good.
This fall, I'll be showing The Unfaithful. But it's weird. It's just because the letter doesn't fit with the chronology of noir that has been established by so many people, myself included, that we tend to gloss over it because it doesn't feature all the stuff that would become the staple iconography of noir, right? We're more comfortable citing Humphrey Bogart in the Maltese Falcon as like, that's noir.
Yeah.
Than we are Bette Davis in The Letter, which was actually a year before the Maltese Falcon. But it has, again, I've said this a million times, far too many film scholars have dismissed movies with female protagonists because it doesn't fit the established line of what noir is.
Mm-hmm.
Noir is people doing the wrong thing and suffering intense guilt for it, and they behave out of this incredible desperation. And it's like, well, we're describing The Letter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also the cinematography and the lighting as well. I mean,
I believe that is Saul Polito, who is one of Warner Brothers' great cinematographers. And yes, it looks very, very noir. But then again, it's also, based on not hard-boiled fiction. It's based on W. Somerset Maugham story, and it's set in, Southeast Asia. It's not set in the United States in a typical noir environment. So there's a lot of boxes on the non-noir side that people want to check, but it's kind of like those don't really count as much as the big noir boxes, which is super guilty protagonist commits a crime and tries to lie their way out of it, and then they're trapped, and that's what that is. So yes, and I've shown it on Noir Alley, and it inspired just the same debate when I showed it, on social media. People are like, why is he showing this? This isn't film noir, and then other people saying, my God, this is totally film noir. So Paula and Carolyn, I hope that answered your question.
Okay, and this is from Bill from Simsbury. I was wondering how Eddie and Ann would classify Algiers, 1938, with Hedy Lamarr, Never Looking Better, and Charles Boyer with a very good supporting cast. To me, it's a pre-noir noir, as of course was the French original Pepe Le Moko.
Yeah, I'm going to step in the bucket on this one. Now that I just said all that stuff about The Letter, there's something about Algiers that just doesn't, I can't not compare it to Pepe Le Moko.
Yeah.
And it comes up so short in comparison to Duvivier's film.
Yeah.
That it's such a Hollywood version of the Casbah.
Yeah.
That it just doesn't. It has the atmosphere and all that stuff, but it doesn't have the doomed romanticism that Pepe Le Moko has, which is what really kind of sets that film apart and sort of establishes that whole tone in French cinema. And Gabin, of course, is just incredible in that movie. Yeah, he is really something. Boy, I just watched again. I hadn't seen it in years and years. Jean Renoir's version of La Bête Humaine that they remade as Human Desire.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, what a great film that is. I mean, it just puts the Fritz Lang movie to shame. It is so incredibly great. And the train stuff in that movie is spectacular. And I'm sorry, I know you like Glenn Ford, and I do too. But Glenn Ford is not Jean Gabin. There is just
no, he is not.
No, and Charles Boyer, pretty great, but even he is not Jean Gabin. So,
but Joseph Kaia is in it.
Who is always great. He is always great.
And it's his birthday, not the day we're airing this, but the day we're filming this.
Today is his birthday. Yeah. I love him so much in Touch of Evil. I can't even, he's great in everything he's done, and he does pop up in so many noir films, Gilda and Deadline at Dawn and all kinds of stuff. But Pete Menzies in Touch of Evil is just such a great character. And his relationship with Hank Quinlan in that film is like, to me, that's like the heart and soul of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get tired of Wells's extraordinary direction, when all of that wears off, you're left with this great relationship between these two guys that to me is the soul of that film. And Joseph Kalia is incredible in it. So thank you for citing that is his birthday today.
And I love him in After the Thin Man.
Yes, another one. Yes.
Yeah.
The best, unquestionably the best of the Thin Man movies. After the Thin Man. Do you?
I love it. Yeah. I mean, one is set in San Francisco.
Well, it's set in San Francisco, but it's so.
No, it's a great story. I mean, it's just it's one of the best, and I love Nick's interactions with his in-laws. It's hilarious.
Yes, it's absolutely great. I mean, obviously Hammett wrote the plot, but Hackett and Goodrich wrote all of the fun domestic stuff.
Yeah,
that
and
goes
it was
on
like,
in the movie
because it's really like and it's just like a little looser. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a little looser, and I love that movie.
Plus, they also what's so fun about that is I don't know that they expected The Thin Man to be the huge hit that it was, because it was pretty low budget and pretty set bound, and then when they scored and Powell and Myrna Loy just got over with the public in this huge way. I mean, it wasn't the first time they'd been together in The Thin Man, but when they finally did that thing that they do so well.
Well, and that was Woody Van Dyke, because they had been together in Manhattan Melodrama, and he just loved the way they interacted. Not when they were actually shooting, but just when they were off, just sitting on set waiting to go, and he saw that. And I don't think MGM really wanted to cast them together, and he like insisted. And I mean,
he made so many of their films, and so many of her films. Woody Van Dyke was like Myrna Loy's personal director in the 30s. Yeah. But I also loved that somebody said at one point that the success of their interplay was based on that they did it the opposite of the way most male and females were depicted, in that he plays it big and she undercuts everything.
Yeah.
She plays it much closer to the vest, and he's kind of, and that's so true. And they're just brilliant together.
And it's fun because so many of his roles, he's not like that. I mean, he played a lot of, he plays some basically straight men to women. but also sort of more of like, like Nick's kind of silly, and he didn't get to, in his films with Roy, he does that, and I enjoy it so much.
Yeah,
and if
fantastic.
people haven't seen the other films they've done together besides The Thin Man, you need to watch those. They're all great.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't just stick with the Thin Man stuff. Check out all the other stuff as well. What was I just thinking of? It was something. Never mind. Moving on. Okay. Phil in the Boston area would like to enjoy. Who would you like to enjoy a meal with among 4 other noir personalities, living or dead? I don't tend to invite the dead ones because the conversation lags. It does drag a little bit when they're
Brains.
dead. And I get to pick restaurant and location of my choice. Huh. Okay, Phil, Boston area Phil. I'm seeing something you did here in your question, and I'm going to immediately say I can't abide by these rules because he says meal. He wants 3 meals: 1 meal with actors, 1 meal with actresses, and 1 meal with directors. And it's like, how fun is that going to be? Not very, first off, having all actresses at a table, no, that's not going to work. Trust me on this, Phil. You do not try to put 4 or 5 actresses at a table together. That's not going to go. And it may be able to work with actors, but who wants it? The actors want the actresses to be there.
Yeah.
So you have to mix this up. And the directors will just be lying. They will be lying about everything to try to impress each other. That's what directors do. They just lie about the movies they make. And it's so I probably wouldn't invite any directors. Right? I'd invite Joan Harrison. I would definitely invite Joan Harrison. She would probably be number 1 on my list. We can, even though she never directed anything, as a producer, I would want her there. In fact, I would probably go with I'd invite producers more than I'd invite directors.
Because I can think of producers that I'd really love to have dinner with.
Yeah, because they would just tell you what they think of these people. Like, I'm never going to work with that son of a bitch again.
Yeah.
And, that would be fantastic.
Because I'd love to have Val Lewton.
Oh, that would
Selznick.
be. Yeah, Selznick would be good. He would be good. Okay, so actors, I'm not inviting any big drinkers because I just don't want. You just don't want that to get out of hand.
Yeah.
So
that narrows down your choices.
That definitely narrows down my choices. If Bogart was on his best behavior, if he came with his wife,
yeah,
that would be pretty good, right? Maybe John Huston. I'll make an exception among directors. Maybe John Huston. Although he was kind of a louse, they called him the monster, and he could kind of take over a dinner party and belittle people, which is not really fun.
I don't like that.
I don't want that kind of a dinner party.
No.
You would invite Mitchum for the after party.
Yeah.
He might not be the greatest at dinner, but afterwards there would be a good after party with Mitchum.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of who else. So I would invite Ella Raines, just because I don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
I would
Does anyone
love
know
to
anything about her? That would be
not really. I would just
make her really interesting, I think.
Yeah. Some people that we know of, like Bogart and Mitchum, and even like Gloria Graham and people like that, you kind of know just what they're going to be like.
Yeah.
But Ella Raines is like, that'd be interesting because, I love her so much on screen, but I really don't have any sense of her as a person at all. And so if I invited, so that'd be how I'd get her there is I'd invite Joan Harrison because,
Yeah.
Joan Harrison was the maid of honor, I think, at Ella Raines's wedding. So they were obviously tight. You can see I'm overthinking this.
Yeah.
So, what Danish actors are you inviting to your dinner party? Right? Would you invite Mads Mikkelsen to a dinner party?
If we could get him in something besides, a sweatsuit, yeah.
And
I really want him to bring his wife. Only if he can bring his wife, because I would love because whenever you see photos of them together, they are adorable. So I'd love to see them together.
That's nice. I'd be afraid that at some point during the dinner, you'd say something and you'd look across the table and he'd be giving you that look. That silent, deadly Mads Mikkelsen, like, and you'd just, dinner would be over.
The first time he and Thomas Anders Jensen actually met, they got into a physical altercation.
That's a good sign.
They had been drinking, surprise. And he said the two most famous Danish actresses at the time were like pulling them apart. I think I may know who those two actresses were. He didn't name them, but I have my suspicions.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think he's mellowed over the years too. So.
Well, I hope I didn't. Here's the thing. I tend to think about these things realistically. So it's not just like who are the most famous or whose autograph do you want. It's like, I really want a good dinner party. And so you don't want to invite people who are competitive in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I know a lot of people would answer this and say, oh, I'd invite Joan Fontaine and Olivia de Havilland, and I'd make them make up. It's like that's not going to happen.
Because when you were talking about actresses, I was thinking I would love to have Barbara Stanwyck and Joan Crawford together because they really loved each other, and I would just have loved to see that dynamic in real life.
Fantastic.
See how they were with each other.
Fantastic. Okay, so right now I'm leaning towards just all women.
No, that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I mean, but Stanwyck is a great one. Crawford would probably be a little gassed by the end of the night, but it's to be
also Vincent Price. It would be, I gotta tell you, Vincent Price is probably my number one. And of course, Dan Duryea, because he's well behaved, I would like to meet him.
This is really good. You outdid me. I like this. Vincent Price, Barbara Stanwyck, Dan Duryea, and you. There you go.
Yeah, it'd be good.
It's not bad at all. I'm all for that.
And at Jacqueline's, which is my favorite, the best dining.
Jacqueline's.
Yeah, my best dining experience in San Francisco.
Okay, I've never been.
Oh, you've got to do it. I mean, she's in her 80s. You got to go now.
Okay, got to go now.
But that's the best dining experience. I felt like I was like in Europe. It was great.
In San Francisco, most of the places I always ate in San Francisco are long gone, or else they're the divey spots that I wouldn't take these folks to.
Yeah.
But Phil does add, do you have any information about Musso and Frank's restaurant in Hollywood? Is it still open? My wife and I ate there in 1990 after my 2-day run on Jeopardy. Well, Phil, I should put this in the form of a question. Good for you. I'm glad. It's funny. Phil, I don't know you, but you're one more person that I know who has been on Jeopardy. I've had known quite a few people that have been on Jeopardy. How does that work? So, but Musso and Frank is, yes, it is still there in Hollywood. That's where I dine all the time when I am in Hollywood. It is definitely still open. I'm happy to say it weathered the COVID crisis, and it was really It's fantastic, you know. So a Hollywood institution, and it feels like it still. I'm going to tell one quick funny story about the last time I was at Musso and Frank. One of the last times I was at Musso and Frank, and I'm not going to talk about too much because I don't want. I have like my bartender and my times and stuff, and I don't want to like have people crashing my peaceful bar time at Musso and Frank. But the last time I was there was I had dinner with Alexander Payne, right? You know, the writer director Alexander Payne, and we had just been meaning to do this for quite a while, and we finally did it. And it was like 2 days before the TCM Film Festival, and I have never in my life felt more like a player than when I walked into Musso and Frank that night, because every single person in the restaurant was there for the TCM festival. Nice. And everybody in the restaurant, of course, recognized me. No one recognized Alexander Payne. And what made this incredibly special was that at least 14 people came over and asked to have their picture taken with me, and he took all the photographs. And these people had no idea that they were handing their camera to an Oscar winner, multiple Oscar winning writer director. And he was so funny and generous. And it's like, oh, no problem. I'll take it. Let me take the picture. And he's like, you know, move over a little. And people are literally joking like, does this guy think he's a director? You know, he's like, that was hysterical. I said, I could just put an end to this. He goes, no, this is very amusing. You know, so that was pretty funny. So he's a good guy. He played along. So if anybody watching was one of those people, now you know that your camera was in the hands of a world-class filmmaker. So there you go. There you go. Okay.
And a big silent film fan.
Oh, yes, of course. He has generously come and introduced movies at the Silent Film Festival in San Francisco, yes. and you know, even more impressive is, you know, when people come out just to watch movies. You know, and Alexander has come out numerous times in LA to just watch movies that I'm showing, either at the TCM Festival or at the Noir City Festival. And it's like, it's just, you know, Curtis Hanson used to do that. And, you know, Joe Dante does that all the time. I mean, I love these guys because they're real hardcore movie fans. They're not just interested in their own thing. You know, Quentin Tarantino has come out a few times, but I think he kind of gave up because he's recognizable. Yeah. He's so recognizable that, you know, he gets a little ambushed, and that's no fun. I'm getting to know that feeling.
Yeah.
So anyway, is that it?
That was it.
Okay, fantastic. That was fun.
Yeah, so Eddie will be in Chicago for the opening weekend of NOIR City.
Indeed, I will.
Which is August 29th. Is Friday, right? Friday, August 29th?
No, August 26th. August 26th.
Friday, August 26th.
I'll be there the 26th, 27th, and 28th. Alan Rohde, our colleague Alan Rohde, will be coming in to do the Monday through Thursday. Yeah. Monday through Thursday shows, yes. Yeah. So sorry, all the people who asked if Ann was going to be in Chicago. I don't think, Ann, you're not going to be able to.
I'm not going in Chicago now. But I've been to the Music Box Theater once when my brother was studying, getting his PhD at Northwestern. And that was before he went to Harvard Law School, by the way.
Okay.
Overachiever.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was visiting him in Chicago, and we went. He took me to Music Box Theater because he knew it. Because I'm really into movies. He wanted to show it to me, and but to me, the big thing about Chicago was that you could get barbecued ribs delivered. It was so awesome. I couldn't believe it. God, barbecue is good in Chicago.
Well, it's funny, and let's reveal more secrets about ourselves now. So you kind of roll your eyes and give me space when I talk about the drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people know that I haven't eaten a piece of meat in 38 years.
Yeah,
So
I knew that.
you knew that, but that's why when you say the Great Chicago Barbecue, it's like,
Yeah. Well, I quit eating meat actually.
Have you now?
Yeah. A couple years ago, I indulge every once in a while, but yeah, and I quit eating meat.
I have not eaten a piece of meat in 38 years.
That's amazing.
It's not like I'm counting,
Yeah.
but I know I do it based on my anniversary.
Yeah.
It kind of shocked me the other day when Kathleen said to me, when were we married? Because this is how old we are now, is that we don't actually remember.
Yeah.
I remember the anniversary because I know the day.
Yeah.
But I do not remember the year any longer, and I was off. I was off by 2 years. So very soon, in 2 weeks, I will be celebrating. We will be celebrating our 37th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That is kind of hard to believe, really.
Yeah.
And then which means I was married for 17 years before I did the first Noir City Festival.
Wow.
I don't know what that means, but it's like,
it's just weird to think that you had a lot. I just felt like you were just born the day before the first one.
I know. I was born when I projected the movie. I died when I left. I lived 20 years in between,
I guess I walked into that one.
last comment before we let these good folks go. So what do you think is going to happen on Better Call Saul?
Okay. Oh my God.
I definitely have worked up a theory. I've definitely worked up a theory.
I don't know. What's so funny is my mom doesn't watch it. I just tell her about it every week, and she's like, "You have to tell me what's happening." Because I told her about where we were left off with Gene. Because you're gonna tell me, right? I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'll tell you what happened." So it was like I'm just telling the story of the show all the time. Sorry. I don't know. I don't think he's gonna die. I don't think Kim's gonna come back. Those are the two things. And but I'm not sure what's gonna happen to him. I would like him to go to prison. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, all I know is that Carol Burnett is in it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I know. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, because I just don't think they, maybe they would have indulged her because she was a fan of the show and they gave her a part,
Yeah.
But the way they're shooting her scenes,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
is starting to build to she's going to have something significant to do with the resolution of the show.
I think you're right.
And whether it's because what's going to happen, and I'm only saying this not to spoil anything, but because I just want to put it on the record, because this is obviously before,
right.
There are, however, I think 2 more episodes to go or something.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, we shot this is airing on a Thursday. We shot it the previous Thursday. So we had 2 episodes left to go.
So there are 2 episodes to go. And I think that however it resolves itself, in some ways I would not want to see Jimmy, Saul, Gene dead at the end of the show, because too many characters honestly have died in the show. Yeah. It's like another one. Yeah. Although it did strike me this last episode that could totally happen, because this is all after everything else.
Yeah.
Right? This is after Breaking Bad and everything. So he could totally die. But this Marion character that Carol Burnett plays, she is going to be symbolically the stand-in for all of the people that he has hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And because his friendship to her is a fraud.
Yeah.
And she is going to tell him that.
Yeah.
And at some point, you know, and it's almost like she doesn't have to kill him.
Yeah.
Just because she will face to face tell him what a horrible person he really is.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow the genius, I think it would be genius to have that coming from Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It would have, because you'd grow so attached to Jimmy.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't help but empathize with him and like want him to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
But now these last few episodes, they are clearly depicting him as a bust out sociopath.
Yeah.
Who has foregone any kind of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think they brought Carol Burnett in to be the one to like drop the hammer on him.
Yeah.
In whatever way that plays out. But I think that's what the strategy is. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. Definitely. I mean, there's a reason why they cast her, you know?
Yeah. And there was something about the way she was looked out the window at him when she realized he's up to something with my boy.
Yeah.
And this is not good. And like, that's a setup for something that's going to happen. So we'll see. Anyway, sorry. Those of you out there who don't watch Better Call Saul, you obviously aren't watching anymore. So don't worry about it. And those of you who did, remember I said that.
There
and
then
tell me how off base I was when the thing finally ends. So, okay, Ann, thanks a million.
Thank you. And so we'll see everybody we'll see everybody in 2 weeks after this one, which is the day before the festival opens, and then people in Chicago will see Eddie on Friday. That Friday.
Fantastic. Okay, I look forward to it. I hope I see a bunch of you there.
Okay, you have a good one.
Take care. See ya.
Bye. Bye.